This evening. We're going to open up in prayer and get right into our lesson this evening. I want to thank those who are joining in right now and those who will join us later on. We thank you for tuning in. Abba, we just thank you right now for allowing us to be here in this atmosphere once again in this place. Despite everything that's going on, you still allow us to make it here once again. Now, Father, as we lay aside the struggles and the things that's going on in the world or even in our own life, we ask that you would help us this evening as we open up this little book of Jude, that you will give us understanding and speak to us this evening, that we may take something from the eternal word that may preserve our life to this very day. We thank you right now. Holy Spirit, have your way today. Lead us and guide us in our time of study. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. You may be seated in the presence of the King. What I want to do this evening, and I was almost thinking that, this almost is like a teaching that need to be done either once a month or a quarter. Because the book of Jude, even though it's a small book, but it's packed. It's packed with dynamite teaching. The book of Jude is no coincidence if we truly believe that the Ruach Kadesh, the one that penned the scripture, right? We know according to First Peter, matter of fact, I want you to see this verse so that it can make an impact into us. In First Peter, let's go there for a moment before we make an impact. First Peter. We have Peter, or the Ruach, is telling us something here, and just for the verse, First Peter chapter 1, verse 11. Verse 11. You can read that one verse, then I'll bring something out.
First Peter 1:11. Searching what matter of time the Ruach of Yeshua, which was in them, did signify when it testified beforehand the sufferings of Yeshua and the glory of that should follow.
You can turn back to Jude. Now, what I want you to see there, how that Peter informed us by the Ruach Kadesh that it was the spirit, okay? It was the spirit of Yeshua that was in the prophets, okay? I want you to get that. So when the prophet was writing, it wasn't the prophet himself. He was just an instrument, right? And so it's the spirit of the Ruach Kadesh, or the spirit, as it said, the spirit of Christ, the spirit of the Messiah was in the prophet. So I want us to understand that when we open up the biblical text and we read what we call the Bible, we're reading what the spirit of Messiah told the prophet from Moses to Enoch to Job and all of them to write. So we must keep that in mind. These is not the words of man, but words of the Ruach Kadesh, or the spirit of Christ, or the Messiah that was in the prophet. And so that's the first thing that we need to understand, that when we open up the book, that these are not the words of man. And I think a lot of times that we don't understand that, but as believers, we need to understand that this is not written by Jude or James or Peter or Paul. They are just instruments, okay? That's what we need to keep in mind. Now, we're going to do a study on the book of Jude, so I'm not going to rush through it. The book of Jude is prominent for our time, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Because the book deals with apostate. And it's no coincidence that the Holy Spirit put it right next door to the book of Revelation. Why do you think the Holy Spirit did that? Well, I can tell you one of my reasons is that before the end, there's going to be great apostate. Okay? So understand that before the end, there's going to be a great apostate falling away. Okay? There is a connection with the book of Jude and the book of 2 Thessalonians. Let's turn there for a moment. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and we're going to read just one verse, verse 3. This is very important that when you begin to indulge in a book, you have to lay a foundation. You have to do the background. Who is Jude writing to? Who is the book structured to? Was it believers or non-believers? What is the setting? You have to ask the question, who is he writing to and why is he writing to? Many times that we are reading the epistles or letters, we're writing the answers to something that's going on. So you would want to know, well, I'm reading the answer, but what was the question? Chapter 2, verse 3. Just read that one verse.
Second Thessalonians 2:3. If I get to this page.
That's okay.
Okay. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away.
Apostate.
First.
Okay, notice apostate first. So the book of Jude deals with that, apostate. Now, I want y'all to understand that Jude is not writing to non-believers. Jude is writing to believers and telling you there's going to come a great apostate, a falling away. You can't fall away from something that you weren't involved.
That's right.
That's why when we go to the book of John, let's go to the book of John, the first John. First John, I'm going to have my wife to read this verse. First John chapter 2. First John chapter 2, verse 18 and 19. First John chapter 2, verse 18 and 19.
Little children, it is the last time, and as you have heard, the Antichrist shall come. Even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that is the last time. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would no doubt have continued with us. But they went out, that they might be made manifest that they were not all of us.
Do you hear what John saying? John said not only that, that's going to be people that used to walk with you, used to study with you, and to prove, John just said it right up front. He said, listen, if they were of us, they would have stayed.
Yeah.
Think about all the people that came here. John said, listen, this letter can speak to those that used to come here, but they left. And John said like this, if they were really, really, really of us, they would have stayed. So John is showing another part of the apostate. People falling away. People come here and say, where's so-and-so at? That's part of it, the falling away.
Wow.
Now, one subject that you're not going to hear too much in the Hebrew movement is apostate and false teachers. But the Mushak talked about that a lot, okay? Let's go to, let's do another one. Let's do Peter. Peter. Let's go. Let me make sure I'm at the right text. I don't know if I can't remember if it's 1 Peter or 2 Peter. Let's go to 2 Peter. 2 Peter. Basically, what I'm trying to do now is just to show you how that the apostles and them talked about. They never neglected to warn us about false teaching. They didn't. They never neglected. They always talked about false teachers. So I say 2 Peter, right? 2 Peter chapter 2. Just a few verses, and then I'll stop here. I'm just trying to get us to understand there will be false teachers. Listen what Peter says here.
But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you.
Oh, what? So now he said, listen, we had them too. Y'all not going to escape. You know what I'm saying? He said, we had them among us. And they all going to be among you too. Go ahead.
Who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying Jehovah, that brought them, and bring them upon themselves swift destruction.
On their own self. You see that? On their own self. So people that be teaching these things, okay, they're going to bring destruction on their own self. We have plenty of examples, which we're going to deal with later. But Peter said, listen, don't worry about it. They're going to be dealt with. But then, because, listen, one part of the reason that people follow false teachers is has to do, stop that bug, with a rebellion heart. So now these are false teachers, but you think people won't follow them. But what he says here in verse 2, but many, right?
And men shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of.
Don't want to follow the truth no more, which is Torah. We saw that, right? Go ahead.
And though covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not.
Okay, now so Peter is connecting false teachers with prosperity, covenants. You know what I'm saying? They're always promising you something. So be aware of this here as we get into the book of Jude. So Peter was afraid to talk about false teachers. Okay, let's go to First Timothy. Let's do chapter 4. First Timothy, this is Paul, Shaul, writing to one of his students. First Timothy, chapter 4. Honey, we'll start at verse 1. Now, notice, you can say now, Paul. First Timothy, chapter 4, starting at verse 1.
Now the Spirit speaketh expressingly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils.
Okay, no. So you talk about that. So this is what Paul says, that the Ruach Kadesh speaking earnestly that in the last days that shall depart, apostate, fall away from the faith. We're going to look at that word later on, the faith. Giving heed to what? Seducing spirits and doctrines of demons. I'm telling you, this is right now the thing, guys, the way that we are now and the way that things are happening in the world right now, this is a prime candidate for Jim Jones, David Correz, and all those people that want to pull you away from sound doctrine. These are the ones that speak into your ears and say, yeah, I know what Pastor said, but what? Okay, Peter said something. Paul said something about it. Let's go to Acts. Let's go to the book of Acts. I think it's like 20 or 21, but I'm going to get there. 20. Now, Paul is warning this church in Ephesus he's speaking about end time too, and he makes a statement here. I just want to pick it up in verse 28. Acts chapter 20, verse 28. Watch this here. I want y'all to pay attention to this here.
Take heed thereof, therefore,
guard yourself
unto yourselves.
Now, remember, y'all, Paul is talking to a leader, and he's telling him, listen, guard yourself, guard the congregation. Go ahead.
And to all the flock over which the Ruach HaKodesh hath made you overseers.
No. He made his own self overseer.
No.
Notice how the Ruach, see, I got to protect the flock. This is what Paul's saying. Go ahead.
To feed the ecclesia of Elohim, which he hath purchased with his own blood.
I didn't buy y'all. His blood did. Go ahead.
For I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock.
Grievous wolves. This is what Paul is saying. Grievous wolves, not sparing the flock. Grievous wolf, foaming at the mouth.
Can't wait.
Good word. Go ahead.
Also, of your own selves.
Say what?
Of your own selves.
Now, does that mean that doesn't speak to us? Does that mean that there ain't gonna be no false teachers among us? And this how you'll be able to identify them. Watch this. Read it. So among your own self, they're gonna do what?
Shall men arise, speaking perverse things, to draw away disciples after them.
Draw disciples away. Huh? Every congregation got to deal with that. Yep. Draw disciples away. Oh yeah, beware of that. This is what the scriptures is trying to warn us, but we don't pay attention to that. We don't pay attention to that. To draw disciples away. Most pastors, don't know pastors in leadership. You can find any pastor that truly a pastor in leadership. He do not allow private Bible studies. Now, pastors not against Bible studies, but pastors do not want to find out about Bible study through the grapevine. You see what I'm talking about? You can't have an attitude, well, this is my house, I do what I want to. Not that is, but not when it comes to ministry. So notice that one of the signs that Paul say, listen, among your own self there shall rise grievous wolves, and then these are the ones that draw the flock away. What else we got?
Verse 31. Therefore watch and remember that by the space of 3 years I ceased not to warn everyone night and day with tears.
Now, do not do that all the time, because I know there was groups that I used to be with back in the day, and they're not here. And I know human nature. I know they're gonna pop up. You know what I'm saying? I know they're gonna pop up. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like I want to have in my office a most wanted pictures of them. You really though, serious. That's how much I want to guard the flock, because they're gonna come in with smooth words, how close we were, but you ain't never saw them before.
Thank you.
Seeking to step in. Oh yeah, that's why I keep saying it. So they be drilled in y'all psyche that when they pop up. So Paul said, I just stopped warning you. So we see the apostles of them don't mind talking about false teachers. And this is what we're going to be dealing with when we get into the book of Jude. Let's go to another verse. Let's go to back to Timothy. And we're going to do, maybe this time we'll do 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy, let's go to, let's do verse 3. 2 Timothy chapter 4, we'll do verses 3 and 4. Yvette?
2 Timothy 3:4.
No, 2 Timothy chapter 4, chapter 4, verses 3 and 4.
For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itchy ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned into fables.
Do you hear that? So here's Paul continuing. Why the apostles and them warning us about, false teachers, be on guard. And this is what the book of Jude is going to deal with, apostates. Now, we might not believe them, but so let's go to the master himself. Matthew, that is the book of Matthew chapter 7. Listen to what the master said, the master teacher, Yeshua. Verse 15. How are we going to recognize these people then? Watch how the master does it. He's the master teacher. He's teaching on the Sermon on the Mountain. And if you just didn't know, he was teaching to his students that came up to the mountain. It said that when he went up to the mountain, his Talmudim came to him. And he sat down and began to teach them. And he did not leave out, at the end of this message, he did not leave out about the false teachers. And then he told us how to identify them. Verse 15.
Beware of false prophets.
Oh, beware of false prophets that come in God's name. Yeah, name.
Which
great.
come to you in sheep's clothing.
Oh, look, sheep clothing.
But inwardly they are raving wolves.
This is the master talking. He's talking about false teachers. Now, how we going? Then listen, he's going to tell us how we can identify them. Go ahead.
You shall know them by their fruits.
By their fruit. Look what don't listen to what they're saying. Look what they're doing.
Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistle? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them.
Isn't that simple? Listen, he didn't say by their shouting. He didn't say about them quoting the Bible verses. He didn't say about them keeping the feast. He didn't say nothing. He said, listen, they can do all that, but look at their lifestyle. Look at their lifestyle, because we know according to Luke 8:11 that the seed is the word of Yah. And so the fruit is in the seed according to Genesis. And you say that you in Yah, but you're producing that kind of fruit, you ain't got the right word. You a sheep. You really wolf in sheep clothing. Because you know how to come around the sheep and sound like the sheep. But then you go back around the goats and you act like the goats. And so, yeah, people say, you're supposed to judge. I'm judging your fruit. Right. It's not Yeshua say you would know them by their fruit. Well, you know, we all ain't perfect. We ain't perfect. No, we're not talking about that. Because the word perfect not even in the Bible anyhow. It's not poor translation. Mature. Heck no. Sincere. So we see that Yeshua talked about false teaching. Paul talked about false teachers. Peter did. So we see that we have to understand when we get into the book of Jude, it's going to be powerful. So let's go back to the book of Jude. Now, one more verse, okay? One more verse. Now, before we go there, because I definitely want y'all to always do this to me and anybody else. I want you to read this verse here. Let's go to the book of Acts. And I don't care who stand up here, y'all have the right to do this here because it's in the scriptures. Acts chapter 17, we'll pick it up in verse 10. Y'all have the right to do this here. And y'all should do this here. I don't care who's standing up here, me, Moses, Paul.
Acts 17:10. And the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night into Berea, who coming thither went into the synagogue of Yehuda.
And they going to preach. Go ahead.
These were more noble than those in Thessalonica.
They hit the books.
In that they received the word with all readiness of mind. And searched the scriptures.
They did what?
Searched the scriptures daily.
Why?
Whether those things were so.
That's what y'all supposed to be doing. This what y'all supposed to be doing. I'm teaching, and then you go back home and research that. Okay, let me check it out. If you was building a precious house, your house is precious. You got to make sure that I'm not got you leaning on a doctrine that's not biblical. And if I'm a little off then because you study, you should straighten you up a little bit. Right. So the Bereans, they say, yeah, Paul, amen, Paul, hallelujah, that was a good lesson. And I wonder how many people go home and really, back check. I could have misquoted a verse. Wrong chapter. I read books that I can tell that it's a wrong chapter. But I knew what the guy meant to put. Why? Because I knew the verse. So y'all have the right to check me out. And if I'm in error of something, then bring it to me. That's what they did, right? Yeah. They searched the scripture daily. Search the scripture daily, whether those things were so. So what Paul was teaching and Bob was teaching, they searched the scripture. Y'all supposed to do that. That's why every Shabbat that after the class, then y'all ought to have some questions. Some questions. I used to love it when we first started, man. We had some students in this place, man. Then we had students, they were asking questions. They were reading the portions. They was critical thinkers. But now we're living in a generation, they got too much information, they can't dissect it. You know, they don't even know where to start at.
Yeah.
So now, let's go back to Jude. But I just find it really, really interesting that the book of Jude is right next door to the book of Revelation. I just find it very interesting because the book of Revelation is like the curtain being closed. The curtain is being closed. And so, you know, the book deals with apostate, right? Apostate, we'll deal with that word in a minute. In the Greek is strong number 868. 868. So we'll check out that in a minute. 868. But I want to make sure, guys, under my watch, that you'll be able to discern these things. That's my job as a teacher. And to be a teacher, we have to understand what HOUSEOFSTUDY said, that in the last days, man would not put up with sound doctrine. They won't preach it. Tell me some good stuff. Move fast, moving. No, that's time to teach. So let's look at, you got your dictionary. We'll look at the word right quick. Apostate, 868. 868. For those who have a dictionary, let's define that term apostate. Anyone? Anyone has it? Okay. Just trying to give y'all opportunity.
868 from 575 and 2474.
Okay.
To remove, instigate, to revolt, usually reflective, to desert, depart, draw, fall away, refrain, withdraw, self.
So you see how the book, as we get into the book, one word that we can stand out, to remove or to fall away. Very important we understand those terms. Now, let's deal with Jude. We can say Jude or Judah, but it's kind of funny that when you look at the character that we stand out, and we just use the English name Judah, right? When we think about Judas, we think about the one that betrayed our master. Notice how that we name our kids. We can name our dogs, our kids, you know, Paul or Peter or Elijah. But I ain't heard nobody ever name their child Judas. Have you?
No.
Because the name has been so tainted, what he did, okay, that nobody even named their dog that. I mean, Judas. And so I find it really interesting, if you think about it, that the book has to do with apostate falling away, and that's exactly what Judas did, didn't it? And so I don't think that the Ruach Kodesh, if we could just picture in our mind and really grasp it, to understand that all scriptures is inspired by Yah, breathed by the Ruach Kodesh. So what we're reading is the mind of the Spirit of Christ, or the Spirit of the Messiah. So if you understand that in a nutshell, you'll know that every word is important. Every statement is important. Where it's lined up, where the story's at, and how the location and the events that they chose to put here. Because we know that in the book of the journey of our forefather for 40 years, you know more than that happened in the wilderness, huh?
Oh, yeah.
So that means the things that are penned in the journey is important. Those things that they're penned in the book. So when we're about to get into the book of Jude, that the things that we're going to see and the word that's put there is important, was put there for a reason. And so we are not to rush through the book of Jude. Matter of fact, you would not understand the book of Jude without knowing the Old Testament. You'll read that, you would know nothing about this here. So that tells me that Jude is now writing to Gentiles. You see what I'm talking about? Now writing to Gentiles. So you got to know your history. Now, let's identify Jude for a moment. Let's go to Mark chapter 6. Mark chapter 6. Let's see who Jude is. Let's get some little background on him for a second. Now, for my Catholic brothers who's watching, yeah, y'all about to be upset now. I got bad news. Mary ain't no virgin. Now, this is Yeshua, and they're mentioning his brothers and sisters, for those who don't know. Yvette, Mark chapter 6, verse 3. This is what they said.
Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary?
The son of Mary, right?
The brother of James.
The brother of James.
And Joseph.
Joseph.
And of Judah.
Judah, the book that we're looking in now.
And Simon.
So far we see, yes, 4 brothers, right? Huh? 4 brothers. That's a big family. And then we know he got more than one sister. Read on.
And are not his sisters here with us? And they were offended at him.
Notice this here. So here is Yeshua. Now, this is what I want you to pick up. That Yeshua family, or his brothers and sisters, didn't believe in him. Then the text gives us a little evidence on that. They was offended of him. But we know for a fact that you ask the average person, how big was Yeshua family? Okay? So we know for a fact that he had 4 brothers, got their name, and he got more than one sister.
Right.
So we see that he says here, a prophet is not but honored, but in his own country and among his own kin and his own house. So, but what I want you to see that he is the half brother of Yeshua HaMashiach. Now let's go to John for a second. John chapter 7. John chapter 7. We'll pick it up in verse 2. Just trying to get a little background on Jude. John chapter 7, verse 2. We'll pick it up in verse 2.
Now, Judah feast of tabernacles was at hand. His brethren therefore said unto him.
Now we know his brother's name, right?
Yes.
So we know. Go ahead.
Depart hence. And go into Judea, that thy disciples also may see the works that thou dost.
They want to forecast his gift.
For there is no man that doth anything in secret, and he himself seeketh to be known openly. If thou do these things, show thyself to the world. For neither did his brethren believe in him.
See how you divide the text? So when you're studying the gospel or the synoptic gospel, which is Matthew, Mark, Luke, these books must be studied together. John stands alone by itself. But I wanted you to see that Jude, something happened in his life. And I believe it was after the resurrection that changed his life. But we have evidence in the text that they didn't believe in him. So as we go back to the book of Jude, since we got a little evidence about him, so far we know that Jude is the brother, the half brother of the Mashiach, 4 brothers and 2 sisters or more. So we see that, right? So that's the thing I want you to pay attention to. So very important. So far we talked about the false teacher, that Jude is going to deal with that. Okay, so now let's break down verse 1, because verse 1 is packed right there. It's packed. Go ahead. Just verse 1.
Jude, the servant of Yeshua HaMashiach, the brother of James, to them that are sanctified by Elohim, the Father, and preserved in Yeshua HaMashiach, and called.
Okay. Okay. Stop right there. I want to bring something out right quick first. Now, I find this very interesting. I find it very interesting that Jude did not. Now, remember, we're studying, okay? The book of Jude. Now, I find this very interesting that Jude did not, even though he's a half brother of the Mashiach, right? But he didn't open his letter bragging that he was the brother. I want you to catch that. Jude did not open his letter like that. He said, Yahudah of Judah, the servant. The servant. He saw himself as a servant. As a servant of his brother. He realized that something happened in his life after the resurrection. Now he sees himself not that, listen, I'm Jude, the brother of Yeshua. Y'all know who I am, Peter? Y'all know who I am? No, he didn't come at him like that. He said, I'm a servant. That's a powerful word right there. A servant. Why is it important? Because that we're going to see that the apostles them used that word because they saw themselves as a servant. Now, people might think they are a servant, but you can't be a server if you're not serving somebody. That's right. You see what I'm talking about? It's very important. We understand, what does a servant mean? A servant means that he gives of his own right. We don't have many servers these days. You don't serve until you get mad. I'm just trying to be real. See, people can think they humble and all that kind of stuff. I'm a humble servant. Really? Wait till I make you mad. Not if. What if when I tell you no? You see? But Jude, he opened himself as a servant. This is a key, powerful word. And he identified who he's serving. Yeshua, my brother. But he didn't use that term. He just said, I'm a servant, Jude, a servant of Yeshua, the Mashiach. He surrendered somewhere in his life, Miss J. Somewhere in his life, he said, listen, I ain't going to be like my brothers. I'm not going to keep denying his identity. I'm not going to keep denying who he is. I'm not going to be walking in pride and saying, why God didn't choose me. So somewhere in his life that he was affected. And I guarantee it had to be after the resurrection. Let's look at a few more verses that people that use that. Let's go to Romans. Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1. Let's work on this term, a servant. Romans chapter 1, just verse 1.
Romans 1:1. Paul, a servant of Yeshua HaMashiach, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of Elohim.
So you notice, Paul used that term. The writers use this term. Let's go to another one. Let's go to James. We call James, but it's Yaakov, the book of James, chapter 1, verse 1. I want you to see how the apostles now, who greater than we are, but they use this term. They saw themselves as servants.
James 1:1. James, a servant of Elohim and of Jehovah, Yeshua HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting.
You see that? I'm going to read one more, then I'm going to break it down some more, okay? Revelation chapter 1, verse 1. I'm talking about servant. A servant. Oh my goodness.
Revelation 1:1.
Go ahead.
The revelation of Yeshua HaMashiach, which Elohim gave unto him to show unto his servants.
Oh, his servant. There was that word again.
things which must shortly come to pass.
Okay, so notice it is used in the book of Revelation. He used it, a bond servant, a server. I want to bring out one more. Let me get here, because that's a powerful word that they use over and over. I want to let's go to Joshua, the book of Joshua, chapter 1. Look at this powerful word, a server. Then I bring something out here, but I want you to see, when you study the book of Jude, when you're studying, words are important. Why do these writers say that they are servants? Joshua chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. Let's break it down even more.
Joshua 1, verse 1.
Watch this here, guys. Watch this here. Pay attention. Watch this. Now,
after the death of Moshe, the servant of
Jehovah. Notice that the servant of Jehovah. Go ahead. It's powerful.
It came to pass that Jehovah spake unto Joshua, the son of Nun, Moshe's minister, saying, Moshe, my servant is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I did give to them, even to the children of Israel.
You see, Moses was a servant. Yah saw Moshe as a servant. Yes, he was. He was a servant of the Most High. Another verse I want to check out for a second. Hold on, listen. Powerful right here. It's powerful. Dealing with this here, the servant of the Most High. Okay, that's it on that one right there. So I wanted you to see that even Joshua is known as a servant of Moses. So using that title was a biblical term. Using that title was a biblical term. So as we go back to Jude, he used that title because it was a familiar. Now, I can take you to the text where they getting that from, but I'm just going to give it to you so you can get your own, do your own homework. It's Exodus chapter 21. Very important that we begin to meditate on these words that are being used. What does it mean to be a servant? A servant of the Most High. What does it mean to serve the man of God? You know, I would tell people in all honesty that if you under a man of God that you can't serve, you shouldn't be under that man. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. If you cannot serve the man of God that you're sitting under, then you need to find another servant or another leader. We'll call those, you know, I'm a servant of the Most High. Y'all, we all are servants of the Most High, but yet you still need to serve the man of God that represent the Most High. Very important. That's a lost art. That's a lost art. It's that old saying that everybody want to be an Indian, you know what I'm saying, chief, but no Indian, right? But don't be underestimate, my brothers and sisters, that Yah still is looking for servants. They will serve. Yahshua would say at the end, in the end, my good and faithful servant. I told the Most High, you know, I said, listen, in this vineyard, and you have heard me say this before, that if this is the only vineyard that he give me in his earth, because the earth is Yah, if this is the only vineyard he give me, I'm going to work this thing. I'm going to work this thing. I'm going to get, listen, I said, listen, master, this how I look then, but look how I look now. I'm going to work this vineyard. I ain't going to be sitting around. I wish I had a bigger building. I wish I had more. No, I'm going to work this vineyard, a servant, so I can hear those words.
Hallelujah.
To be faithful. To be faithful. Are you back in Jude? Okay. So now we see that Jude, the servant of Yahshua HaMashiach, and then and the brother of James, we saw that, right? In Mark chapter 6, verse 3. To them that are what? Sanctified. Notice who Jude talking to, guys. He's talking to those who are set apart So the opposite of that, if you're not set apart, he's not talking to you. Very important that we understand that. Let me get back to what I was. Those who have been set apart. Those that Yah has set you apart. That is sanctified. That has been set apart by who? Elohim. Notice that who do the setting apart. Yah set you apart. You're not to be like the other nations. That's what got us in trouble back in the day. We wanted to be like the nations. But Jude said, I'm talking to those that have been set apart by Yah himself. Out of the 7 billion people in the world, Yah took you out and set you apart. Now live like set apart kingdom citizens.
Hallelujah.
So when people ask us why we don't watch certain TVs, why we don't do certain things, why we don't dress a certain way, because we are set apart.
Hallelujah.
Are y'all understand? We are set apart by God, the All Father.
Hallelujah.
That's why we're not to do these things here. If you truly a child of the Most High, or you truly been born again, I was going to set you apart. He's going to set you apart. Very important we understand that. Find this verse here. Not have to be here. I want to read this verse here. One of the verses I learned a long time ago. John chapter 17, verse 17. John chapter 17, verse 17. Did they just read that verse for me?
John 17:17. Sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth.
Now, I'm going to tell you why that is so powerful. Why that's so powerful. Because if you read all John chapter 17, that is the prayer. That is the intimate prayer of Yeshua praying to the Father for his disciples, and not only for his disciples then, but for us in the future. He says, sanctify them, kadosh, set them apart. And how are we set apart according to that text? By what? Sanctify them by what?
Sanctify them through thy truth.
Thy truth. What is truth? Thy Torah, thy commandments. Sanctify them, kadosh. Set them apart. Set them apart. Watch this here. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 5. Watch this here. Let's pick it up at verse 25.
Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives, even as Yeshua also loved the church and gave himself for it.
Now you might do what?
That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word.
Notice how the ecclesia is sanctified, how the ecclesia is set apart, that he might kadosh, clean it, sanctify, kadosh, and clean it with the washing of the water by the word. So a church that would not get washed by the word, not clean. That's why Paul tells Timothy, preach the word. Why? Because it's the word that washes us. It's the word that cleans us. So notice how the bride of Messiah is washed. Why? Because we've been filthy by the world, right? So it's the word of Yah. It cleans us. It sets us apart. That's why the house of study is set apart.
Hallelujah.
We're not set apart because we better. We're not set apart because we are a different color, a different nationality. We're not set apart because we're a different denomination, whatever you want to call it. We are set apart by the word of Yah.
Hallelujah.
Are y'all hear me? This is what Jude is saying. To those, I'm talking to those that have been kadosh. I'm talking to those that have been set apart by God the Father. Powerful right there. Powerful right there. This is what Jude is dealing with this here. Let's go back to Jude. So now he's talking to people that have been set apart, right? But not only that, let me get it here. Not only that, Miss J, not only that they have been set apart, but I want you to pay attention. They've been set apart by the Father, Elohim, the Father. He has set us apart. Okay? And then it says, and preserved. Yeah. We are preserved. We are kept. Not only, you know what I'm saying? As he say here, we are preserved in Yeshua, the Mashiach. So if I'm in him, he's preserving my life. But I want to show you how this word is being used. Let's go to Matthew. Let's go to Matthew for a moment. Matthew. Now this is Yeshua praying, right? He's going to pray, right? And it says here, let me get to this verse here so I can break it down. Matthew chapter 27. So as the master, what verse I want to use here? I want to use this verse here. Let's go to, this is the crucifixion. So let's go to chapter 27. Matthew chapter 27. And so after they had crucified him, let's pick it up in verse 35. So after they had crucified him, Matthew chapter 27, verse 35. Watch this here.
And they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots.
Now watch this here.
That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophets. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots.
Now watch what the verse is, verse 36.
And sitting down, they washed him there.
That's the word, preserve. So as they sat down, they watched. So when Jews say we are preserved, otherwise he said we are watched. Yah is watching over us. Oh, you understand? He said that Yah is watching over us.
Hallelujah.
He's watching. He's guarding. He's protecting. That's what that word means. So we are preserved. We are kept. Why? Because the Father is watching over us. That's powerful right there. For those that want to look up in the Greek, it's 5083. So it can be translated as watch. I want to show you another one. Let's go to, since we're in the same book, Matthew chapter 28. We started verse 1. Verse 2 for the sake of time. Verse 2. Matthew chapter 28, verse 2.
And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of Jehovah descended from heaven, and came and rolled back the stone from the door, and sat upon it. His countenance was like lightning, and his remnant white as snow. And for fear of him, the keepers did shake, and became as dead men.
That's the word, preserve. Keepers. They're guarding the tomb, right? They're guarding it. So that means that when Jews say we are preserved in Yeshua, we are kept in Yeshua, we are guarded in Yeshua, we are washed in Yeshua. That's why you and I are still here today, beloved, because Yeshua been watching over us. He's been preserving us, guarding us. Oh my goodness. You think you've been keeping yourself. It's Yeshua watching.
Hallelujah.
It's Yeshua been taking God. We preserved in him. Oh my goodness, this is good. This is good. Let me see. I might want to, let me see what I'm going to go back and see what I'll be able to close out on verse 1. Okay. I'm going to, yeah. I do that. Let's go back to Jude. I want to show you something else. So we're preserved in or kept. We'll watch. We'll guard in Yeshua the Messiah. So I'm protected, right? Now, then he say, and call. Oh my goodness. Call. You say, listen, I'm called. How you know that if I'm called by the Most High? Oh, this is good right here. I'll be closing out on this one here. How do I know, Pastor, if I'm called? Well, by tuning in right now. Are y'all hear me? Many are called, but few are chosen. We talking about called. You are called by the sure fact that you're tuning in, telling me that you're called, or Yah is calling you. These are not light words that Jude is messing around with. Are y'all hear me? House of Study, are y'all hear me? These ain't not light words that Jude's messing around. You are called if you're tuning in. Hallelujah. Whether today or tomorrow, next year, whatever, you're tuning in because Yah calling you. You either called or you're being called. Let's close out on this verse because I might come back if the Most High say the same day or Thursday next week and deal with this here. But we're gonna be studying the Book of Jude. You should be able to go on and read it. It's only just 25 verses. Let's go to Romans. Let's close out on the Book of Romans. Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8. Now watch this here. Romans chapter 8, famous verse that most people know. If you don't know this verse, guys, you need to memorize this verse here. This verse will help you in life. This verse would encourage you in life. I'm going to read this verse myself. Romans chapter 8, verse 28. Watch this here. And we know that all things work together for them that are loved, the Elohim, to them who are what? Called. Hallelujah. According to what? His purpose. Are you called according to his purpose? So then the next thing, you ought to find out what his purpose is. Hallelujah. Called to his purpose. Now watch what he has done to the called people. Watch what he has done to the called people. For whom he did foreknew. He also what is Paul read? Predestined to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the first among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestine, them he also what? Called. Of whom he called them, he also justified. And to whom he justified them, he also glorified. Notice the stage that we're in. Right now, we just call right now. And then the reason that I'm able to walk this walk because I'm justified. Because I'm justified. How I'm justified? By the blood. Hallelujah. And one day, I'm going to be in my glorified body. Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah, Israel. Hallelujah. Oh, my goodness. I thank y'all guys for tuning in. Thank y'all guys for tuning in. I'm going to shut it down. Shut it down right there. That's just the Book of Jude. We'll be studying the Book of Jude. Go on and read it. 25 verses. We're going to be digging in now. It's going to bring out a lot. We're going to deal with it. Bible study. This is what we're talking about. Appreciate everybody tuning in. For those who want to contribute to the lesson, it'd be highly appreciated. I'm sure by now I got my regulars there. You can send a donation, offering to $ House of Study, Zelle or Zelle, ZELLE 4935-43659. That's just a way for us just to keep moving, keep the cameras going, keep the lights going. It'd be highly appreciated. And y'all know how we do it around here. If you ain't got it, you just ain't got it. But I just want to just give you the opportunity to sow into this ministry. Good seed. Good seed. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're not breaking no sugar candy in here. This is sound doctrine here. And as I open up with Acts 17:11, you is to check out anybody that you listen to. You have the right by the Ruach Kadesh to search these things out to see where they sow. So my brothers and sisters, I thank you for tuning in. If the Most High say the same, we'll see you here this Shabbat. Hallelujah. This Shabbat. Let us all stand as we prepare for the morning blessing. Hallelujah. Say hi to my mother-in-law. I know she's watching. My family at the House of Study. I know y'all watching. I ain't gonna sing the song. Don't go there. I ain't gonna sing the saints come marching in. I'm gonna let that go. Running blessing. Hallelujah. Come on, Israel. Yeah. May Jehovah bless thee, keep thee. May Jehovah make his face shine upon thee and be glorious to thee. May Jehovah lift up his countenance upon thee, O Israel, and give thee peace. May Jehovah destroy all the chaos in your life in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. May Jehovah continue to keep you virus free. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.